What up, people? It is your boy, once again, Mr. Noland. Alright, on this video, we are going to be talking about opposites and absolute value. Okay, so on your test next Friday, you're going to have to do coordinate graphing. You're going to have to know what opposites are and absolute value. In my opinion, it's one of the easiest tests you'll take this school year. I really do think it is. All right, so let's start with opposites. I'm going to make this as easy as possible. The opposite of a positive number is a negative number. For example, the opposite of 15 is negative 15. The opposite of 1 is negative 1. The opposite of 1,000 is negative 1,000. That's literally it. The opposite of a negative number is a positive number. For example, the opposite of negative 2 is 2. The opposite of negative 10 is 10. The opposite of negative 500 is 500. That is it for opposites. There's only one trick one, and it's not even that tricky. What is the opposite of 0? There is no opposite of 0. The opposite of 0 is just 0. Okay, so that's opposites. Now, absolute value. Okay, this is what the absolute value looks like. You're going to have a number between these two little bars like so. And this stands for the absolute value of 8 is just 8. The absolute value of 12 is 12. The absolute value of 20 is just 20. Now, what happens if you have the absolute value of negative 5? Well, it's just 5. The absolute value of negative 11 is just 11. The absolute value of negative 4 is just 4. Now notice, sorry about that. Notice, if you have a positive number inside the absolute value, the answer is positive. If you have a negative sign inside the absolute value, it's also a positive number. Now, what happens if you have this? Well, what is the absolute value of 8? It's 8. Now, you see that negative on the outside? It goes along. So let's try it again. Let's try the negative and then absolute value of 23. Well, start off. What is the absolute value of 23? Well, it's 23. The negative on the outside joins. The negative absolute value of 40. Again, the absolute value of 40 is 40. the negative on the outside comes. Okay. And let's try one more here. What happens if you have the negative absolute value of negative 9? Well, start off, what is the absolute value of negative 9? Well, that's just 9. The negative on the outside comes back and joins, though. There's your answer. The absolute value of negative 26 is 26. The negative on the outside comes and joins. And one more. The absolute value of negative 100 is 100. Bring the negative sign on the outside to join. Okay. Now I'm going to throw a curveball at y'all with absolute value. What about this? The absolute value of 8 plus the absolute value of negative 4 equals what? Well, what's the absolute value of 8? 8. What's the absolute value of negative 4? It's 4. Well, what's 8 plus 4? 12. Done. What about this one? What's the absolute value of 12? It's 12. Bring down the minus sign. What's the absolute value of negative 3? It's 3. Well, what's 12 minus 3? It's 9. Done. Now this one's going to be a tricky one. Okay. First of all, cover up the negative on the outside. What's the absolute value of 8? Well, the absolute value of 8 is 8. Bring down the minus sign in front of it, and also bring down the minus sign behind it. What's the absolute value of negative 2? Well, it's 2. Now, I'm going to have you put this in terms of money. You owe your best friend $8, and you borrow another 2 from them. Well, doesn't that mean you owe them $10 now? So check this out, because you're going to go into integers like this a little later on. When adding or subtracting integers, if the signs are the same like you see here, keep the sign, add the numbers. So I'm giving you a small little lesson ahead of what you're going into later this year. Alright guys, I hope this video on opposites and absolute value helps you. You guys have a wonderful day. See y'all later. Bye.